Hey everyone, Andrew Shivey, Main Street Real Estate Group here. By now, you've probably heard there are some pretty big changes coming to the real estate industry, not just Chicago, but nationwide. So I wanted to give you an explanation of what that is and kind of what the changes are that you're going to see as of August 17th in the Chicago market. Right off the bat, I'm going to give you a rundown of the two main changes you're going to see. And then if you'd like to stick around a little bit longer, I will give you kind of my take on the situation as well as a full explanation of how this will affect the market and how I see things playing out. All right, let's get into it. The first thing I want to start with is buyer's agreements. So if you've worked with me in the past, we've never signed one of those. I've just never felt the need to have one with my clients. Tons of agents use them. So this isn't anything new to the industry. The new part of this is that we are required by law to have a buyer's agreement signed with a client before touring homes. So usually you'd be like, Andrew, let's go schedule a showing. I would do so. We'd go, I'd meet you at the property. We'd go see it. Done. Now, before we go into the home, I will have to have a signed buyer's agreement. Again, not anything new to the industry. It's just new that it's required. So moving on to the second part of the changes that I want to talk about. This is the one you've all heard about. Commissions. How's it going to be affected? So as of August 17th, no longer will the MLS be allowed to display what they call the co-op commission. That is typically what we refer to as the buyer's agent compensation. So you'll see it on Redfin and Zillow and other websites. It'll show you what that compensation is and it'll be spelled out. As of the changes on August 17th, they can no longer show that on the MLS, and so that will be no longer on Zillow, Redfin, all of the websites. All right, now that we've covered the changes that are going to be coming into effect as of August 17th, let's kind of dig deeper, right? Let's talk about the sellers and let's get into the kind of the commission and how things work. Typically in the Chicago area, we do 5% commission. That fluctuates up and down a little bit depending on situations, realtors, all of those things. So let's just say 5%, and typically speaking, that's split 50-50, 2.5% to the seller's agent, 2.5% to the buyer's agent. And as I said earlier, the MLS will no longer provide that number. They usually advertise it. So that's going away. So what does that mean? Basically, I don't see a ton of changes happening. Sellers, I still believe, will be offering what we call the co-op commission. Sellers have never been required to pay that commission to a buyer's agent. It's always just been part of it as part of the sale, right? I think that you may start to see sellers offering a smaller co-op commission, but still some. Maybe it's 1.5%, maybe it's 1%. And what I think will happen then in that buyer's agreement, there will be a compensation portion of that buyer's agreement where a buyer may be required to pick up, split the difference of whatever commission. Maybe they'll be required to pay 2.5%, but I do believe sellers will still be offering co-op commission, and I still think people will be offering 2.5% on a lot of transactions, but some won't, and some people will offer 0, and it's possible that a buyer in that agreement will then have to pay their agent the full commission. If a buyer is like, oh, I have to pay 2.5% commission to my realtor on this, maybe we'll go look at a different house. And I think what will happen is those homes that are offering no commission to a buyer's agent will be negatively affected. And we've already seen some agents doing 0% commission, co-op commissions on the MLS. And I'm telling you, I've seen them time and time again. I've seen probably half a dozen. They all have market times of 30 plus days. In a market where market times are so low, you see houses that aren't offering commissions at a much higher market time. So I think buyers, the consumer, is saying, I don't think I want to buy that house enough to pay the additional commission to my client or to my agent. But however, if I had to pay 1% to make up the difference, something like that, I think that's much more manageable. So I do think that sellers that are offering 0% might see some pushback and they might have a harder time selling. And if you think about this in a whole, we are in a crazy seller's market, right? We have been for a while. That will change at some point, and then sellers are going to be like, oh, I do have to entice my buyers to come and purchase my home. So I do think that could change. Let's talk about buyers, right? Because that's what's probably going to be most affected here. Buyers already have to come up with a down payment, and people are scared, oh, now I have to come up with an extra 2.5% on my commission. As I just stated, I don't believe that will be the case on most listings. I think there will be some, and if it's a house you absolutely love, maybe you come up with that extra 2.5%. But I do think lenders will roll it into the mortgage, things like that. However, I do think most sellers will still be offering a co-op commission, which is what we talked about before, is the buyer's agent compensation. I think that's how it's going to work. But I think as you as a buyer, you might, if I say, hey guys, this one actually doesn't pay any commission, and per our buyer's agreement, you will then have to pay me for my services. at the time of closing, you might choose to say, you know what, let's just find the other one. We might see a different place that we like more, and we don't have to come up with the entire commission, which is fine. Look, at the end of the day, change is scary, but I do think that the market will figure itself out, as it always does. I think at the end of the day, buyers will be paying a little bit of commission here and there, and I think sellers will still be paying commission on most transactions. What I was thinking about too is that a lot of buyers just go with whoever as an agent, right? Oh, it doesn't matter. They're just opening doors. But no, you should have a rock star realtor opening doors for you. You shouldn't work with Aunt Sally because mom's going to be pissed that you didn't, and she does one deal every 5 years. That's not who you should be working with. You should be working with someone that is setting you up financially, helping you win deals, making sure you're making the best decisions, walking you through inspection items, all of these things that are so important when you're buying your house. That you shouldn't just trust to anybody. You should trust to an awesome professional who does this day in, day out, and it's going to get you the best deal on the best property and make sure that you are set up going forward. So when you have to sell that property, you're not taking a bath. So honestly, I think that's like the biggest takeaway from this for buyers is just to make sure that they're using an awesome realtor because it's so important. I think we get overlooked as buyer's agents. I think a lot of people think, oh, they just open doors. We write contracts. We go to inspections. We do all of these little things. We do CMAs to tell you what a property's worth to make sure you're financially set up in the right position. So I think at the end of the day, that's important, and I think people should take note of that, and I think people will start to take note of that. If they have to pay for a service, they better make sure they're getting the best service possible. If you have any questions, follow up with me, shoot me a message, shoot me a text, give me a call. I'd love to chat with you.